My name is Embert Paul Madison Jr. I'm from the city of Pomona, easternmost city in LA County. So kind of from LA if you're not from LA, but if you're from LA, I'm not from LA. I grew up as a very diverse neighborhood in the city of Pomona. Very few of my friends' parents owned a home or even lived in a home. So I was lucky enough to live in a home with both my father and my mother, and two younger siblings. My mom worked at an elementary school, like walking distance. So from 7:30 to 4:30, I was at school with my mom. Like when I got out of school, I had to walk to her job. So I was always at school, safe neighborhood, but my parents knew where to keep me away from in order to keep us safe. I do know a bit about Sacramento. I lived there for 10 years. I went to UC Davis Law School. And midway through, I decided to move to Sacramento. So I lived in Sacramento for 10 years, and in particular, the Oak Park neighborhood is a historically Black neighborhood. In the 1920s, it was like the first suburb of Sacramento. So nowadays, we would just ride our bikes to get to like the capital, to quote unquote downtown. But back then, there was a train. And so people who would work downtown, that was the first suburb. And obviously, it was people of color, it was across the train tracks. Small homes, mostly 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, under 1,000 square feet. And just along the main thoroughfare of Broadway, there was the commercial corridor. And my building sits on 33rd and Broadway. There's like a barbershop across the street. There's a coffee shop. So it's one of the few areas in Sacramento where you can live, work, and play. I have run a furnished rental business for about 5 years now. We provide furnished housing in the city of Sacramento for 30 days or more to traveling professionals. So started that business just doing arbitrage, renting a property from a landlord and then releasing it for hire after furnishing it and finding people that come to Sacramento for a long period of time. And some people owned this property, and at the time it was a former meth lab. So it was condemned. It was in pretty bad shape. Nobody would ever go into it, but it's on a corner that has the entire block. And my business partner knew the people who owned it, and they needed help, and they didn't know how to make it anything. So they decided the bottom would be commercial, it's a 2-story building, and the second floor would be residential. So my business partner and I, we took over the top of the building, took it down to the studs. COVID hit. Nobody wanted to work, so we finished taking it down to the studs, brought it back to life with an amazing architect, and now it's serving the city of Sacramento well. Once we started to rehab the building because of its location, the whole neighborhood would know, and people would come by and ask what we're doing. And once they found out who the owners were, they would leave business cards or just chop it up with us. It's a beautiful thing now. We have 5 commercial businesses downstairs. I think we've had them all for at least 3 years. 3 of the businesses are women owned, and the other 2 businesses are owned by minorities. An older Black gentleman who's an optometrist who sells eyeglasses that he manufactures, and a Hispanic gentleman that sells like cool clothes for the youth. So they've been there for 3 years. It's amazing to have that entire block be our business, and people, minorities who are living their dream and helping me live my dream. I think our vacancy rate was like 3 days for all 4 units last year, because we have a new product in, a quote unquote cool area of town. It's a neighborhood of Oak Park. Former Mayor Kevin Johnson has a restaurant like walking distance away that people like to frequent. It's just a cool area to be in. I know most people are good, but unfortunately, the neighborhoods that people look down upon, it's usually because they don't have the options to live the life that they can and would live if otherwise granted opportunities. So ownership to me is just having the option to raise your family in a way that is most beneficial for the way that you want to live, to be a contributing member of a community. That's what ownership can help build, because it takes a village to raise a family, and our families are how we create a better society. So I think ownership is one way that we can create a better society.